Welcome to Cocktails Over Coffee, a podcast that spotlights truly inspiring individuals that have taken a leap of faith by leaving their corporate careers, otherwise known as their coffee, to pursue their passion, otherwise known as their cocktail. I'm Janae Green, and I am so excited to be here today with Kenneth.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having
Cheers.
me. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
For sure.
I'm excited to talk about what you were doing and what you've been up to, because you've a really cool transition, a really cool story.
It's been very interesting,
has it?
to say the least. Yeah,
it's been fun to watch.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I feel like you've been there from like
the beginning,
the very beginning. So
I had Jovel on here not too long ago.
Right, I just finished the episode.
Yeah, the no names in the beginning. So yeah, we'll talk about all of that, but from your perspective, because it's probably a different perspective as well. So let's start from what your coffee was.
So my coffee was, I moved here in 2012, right after graduating from Morehouse, and I was a fashion buyer for 6 years for Macy's.
Wow.
And then I transitioned to the fashion office.
Okay.
And I was a fashion director there. And I loved it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I
You're
interned.
doing such fun stuff.
Yeah, I interned with the company my junior year of college, and then they offered me a full-time position. So as soon as I graduated, I came back, and it was really fun. I mean, I think that going into buying, I thought that it was going to be a bit more glamorous than what it really was.
Right.
It was a lot of crunching numbers, Excel.
Right.
I mean, I went to school for business, marketing, so it made sense. I was great at it.
Yeah.
But I was missing that creative piece.
Right.
So when I moved here, we were still blogging with the no names. So that was really a really big focus for us, because we wanted to eventually have that become our full-time situation.
Your thing. Yeah,
right.
You wanted to be bloggers.
Exactly. So time went on, and honestly, the blogging thing was cool for a while, but Jovel really, really loved it.
Yeah.
And I kind of fell out of love with it, I think.
Okay.
Just being around just so many different type of people and just kind of seeing what they were doing, I was I don't know if I really connect with this anymore.
Interesting. Okay.
So I was let me start doing my own thing. So with that, I got interested in going into the fashion office at Macy's. So that was a huge transition. It went from basically being in Excel all day to being in showrooms and at fashion shows.
And out and about meeting people.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the part where I was okay, this is what I came to New York for.
Yes.
So that happened, and I mean, I fell out of love with that too.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I was getting my job done in 2 days. It wasn't a challenge.
Yeah, it became too easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, outside of working for Macy's, I was making connections within the city, and then the company wanted me to use my personal connections for their things, and really wasn't trying to
compensate for that. Yeah.
So that's when I was what's going on here? And then I started DJing as a hobby.
Okay. And where did that come from, though? So was that something that just did you always have it in you, or?
So in high school, I was always that kid that would make mix CDs and give them to my friends.
Yes, burn CDs. Did you write all the titles on the CDs?
Yes, I did all of that.
Yeah.
And I've always been into music. Okay. I went to a school of the arts.
Okay.
So I've always had that background, but I never thought I would be a DJ.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I moved to New York City, going to so many different events Fashion Week and fashion dinners. I mean, you know what that world is.
That fashion world, all the events.
Right, but back, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I feel the companies were hiring the same people all the time.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
It was the one fashion DJ.
Right.
That DJ'd everything.
Right. But now today you have so many, so therefore it's there's a diverse in sound, but I was so sick and tired of hearing the same thing at every event I went to.
Yeah,
and I was doing
playlist.
3 or 4 events a week.
Yeah.
So I remember complaining to my friend, and he was you know what, stop complaining about it. Why don't you do it yourself? So being the Pisces that I am,
right?
I just went on Amazon, I ordered a controller, I went to YouTube, and I just started teaching myself. And
really?
that's when Snapchat was big. I would put all my practice videos.
Right.
And then people would hit me up come DJ my party.
Really?
I had no idea what I was doing, but I just fell in love with it, and then I got better.
So friends at first were the ones that were come, you're good at this.
My friends wanted me to come out. I probably messed up a lot of times, but
nobody probably.
No, yeah, it's been a growing process.
Yeah.
But I will say that my friends have been very beneficial in putting me on to different events and things that kind of helped me get to where I am today.
Yeah. Okay. So. And so you obviously you were moving up at Macy's, but falling out of love with it quickly with each move.
Right.
So then was there a moment that you actually knew and felt comfortable with the idea of leaving your full-time job with your benefits, with your salary?
Right.
Or was it just like it happened all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, like, being in New York City, it's a very expensive city.
Yeah.
So there was a time where I was like, I'm making good money. I'm able to like go out, like, buy things and
live your life.
Live my life.
Right.
It was great. And I was DJing on the side and doing corporate at the same time. It wasn't until the DJ gigs started picking up, and I remember just being exhausted all the time.
Yes.
Because I would be at work from like, 9:30 to like 6. I'll probably do like an event from like 6 to 7. Then I would like rush to like a Starbucks bathroom change, go to a DJ set, and like probably get home around like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember just being like in meetings, and my coworkers are like, Kenneth, like, are you here?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not.
You weren't.
And I couldn't balance it anymore. And I told my parents, I was like, like, I want to pursue this. I'm getting to the point where I think I can like really live my lifestyle off of DJing.
Yeah.
And my parents were just kind of like, we believe in you.
Yes.
Like, but make sure you're ready. Like,
yeah.
But we are going to support you, like, in your decision.
Right. That's great. That
right.
You had that support system behind you.
It wasn't until one day I was basically promised a promotion that I did not get, that I knew I deserved based on my work ethic and my results and what I'm bringing to the company.
Okay.
Where I was like, what? Am I really valued here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to bust my ass and continue to be exhausted and stressed out if I'm not being
rewarded for that. Exactly. And you knew what you deserved.
Yeah. I remember going to the mothering room, like in my office, and I called my mother and I just like broke down crying because I just felt defeated.
Wow.
And she was like, your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
Like, take some time to calm down, call your father. And I thought my father was going to be like, no, give it some time, like, you're okay.
Right.
But he was like, okay, it's Friday, so Monday, quit.
Really?
Yeah. He was like, you need to stop prolonging this situation because the longer you prolong it, you're going to talk yourself out of it every time.
Exactly.
So he was like, you think you're ready? I mean, he was like, at this point, you've been doing things that like have showed me that you are capable of like supporting yourself by DJing, and so do it.
Right.
You never know.
Did that like kind of validate your decision, having your father say that to you?
Yes.
Because you're right. Usually you're expecting the like, okay, well, are you sure? Have you given it time? But like having him be like,
go
do it.
And my parents are very like liberal parents.
Yes.
Very supportive. They always have been, but they're still all about like, structure.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're going to be okay.
You got a paycheck. You can pay your bills.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So like there were things, and my mother works, she's like in human resources. So like she knows like with benefits and all that stuff, like I would be like walking away from.
Yeah.
So that was a whole nother conversation I had to really have and like process. But all in all, they were super supportive.
So what was the process like of resigning? Like, how did you prepare for it? Were you saving? Were you making enough from your gigs to support yourself?
So I knew that eventually I wanted to obviously like DJ full time.
Okay.
So a lot of the money that I was getting from my like side hustle at the time, I was saving.
Okay.
I was saving, and I was like, using my salary to kind of like, just rent everything else.
Yeah.
But a lot of people always ask me, how much did you save?
Yeah.
And they're like, what did you save? Like, because like Jovel saved like 2 years worth of.
I was shocked.
Honestly, kudos to him.
I don't even know how that's possible.
I don't either. Living in New York City, maybe I like went to too many brunches or something.
Clearly, too many happy hours. I have no idea how you could save 2 years worth.
I don't know either, but I did save up a bit. But it wasn't like a big amount. But I just kind of like jumped.
That's exciting though.
It was scary as hell.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
But like I was like, you know what? I have faith in myself.
Yeah.
Like I have faith in God and like my calling. Like it's going to work itself out.
It always does.
Exactly.
And like I mean, I would love to say I had like 6 months or 2 years saved up. I had enough to get me to a certain point, and I was like, I think it's just gonna work itself out. After this.
And it does. It's like you have to be very like go strong, go hard, like about what it is that you want.
Right. Exactly.
And what I've learned, even like almost 3 years in of like entrepreneurship, it's a roller coaster.
It absolutely is.
There are months where you have like so much money coming in where you're like, okay, let me pay my rent for 3 months. Let me go buy me a new bag. Let me go on a trip.
Right. You're living.
And then there's those months where you're like,
I
oh
can't
shit,
leave my apartment.
Exactly.
Right.
But just understanding that that is not like you're not alone in that feeling, in that reality, because like that's the reality of being an entrepreneur, or like just following your dreams.
Yeah.
So it's been a process, and I think I'm going into my 3rd year of being like on my own.
Has it been 3 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like 2.5. Yeah, going into 3 years, I believe.
That's crazy.
And it makes more sense now.
It does.
Like I'm feeling a lot better about things, about decisions, and just where things are going.
Was there anything that you learned from your time at Macy's that helped you with what you're doing now, or do you think it was just kind of to prepare you to do something else?
I mean, corporate life is very interesting. I will say company culture taught me a lot.
Yeah.
Just learning how to deal with people that you may not necessarily like or get along with, but just always being professional and presenting yourself in the best way possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there are so many things that I've had to deal with at my corporate job that has taught me valuable lessons for what I do now.
Yeah.
So I loved my time there. I still have great connections and relationships with people I work with.
Yeah.
I actually DJ events for Macy's.
I was gonna say, so did your coffee become your client?
Yeah, they actually did, and it was the first time it happened. I was so taken back because I'm I'm coming into this building now as talent almost on the other side.
Yeah, as talent.
Yeah, and it's just it's a full circle moment.
It really is.
But I'm very appreciative of the support and love that I still have at that company.
And so how did your team take it when you resigned? Were they also supportive, or were they surprised?
So my team, especially my co-workers, not my boss, but my level.
Yes.
Was just they always would say, you need to quit. Why are you still here? Because
Really?
they would see me on they follow me on Instagram, and I would tell them stories about what I was doing and things that were going on. They're like, why are you still here?
Right.
And I'm just well, until it makes sense.
Exactly.
I'm going to be here. And then I remember telling my boss, and she was like, you know what? I'm so proud of you.
Oh, that's amazing.
She's like, I know that you're going to just excel.
Yeah.
She's like, dude, whatever you need, I'm here for you. I'm happy. I support you. So spread your wings and fly. So they were very supportive.
So you quit your job, and you obviously, at this point, we know that DJing is your cocktail and what you're doing full time now. So who was your first client post Macy's?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember. I do remember my first big client.
Okay.
Well, no, this was actually during Macy's.
Okay.
It was right when I was about to leave, probably a month or two before I left. Dolce and Gabbana.
Yes.
I DJ an in-store event for them, and it was just so surreal because that was my first moment, not just being a DJ, but they were we want you to come in and get fitted, car service, and I was
the whole.
What is this?
You were talent.
Yeah.
Real.
And I had seen it on Instagram and people that I look up to.
Yep.
But the fact that I was actually living something that I aspired to always have or want was really humbling.
Like a pinch me moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then after that, I did a really big gig for Diddy, had a party for Cassie, and me and Olivia Dope did her album release party at Up and Down.
Okay.
So that was fun. And then after that, just things just started taking off.
Really?
So I can't remember the first event after Macy's, but it was just a trickle effect.
And so how did you go about getting clients? How did you go about letting people know that you were DJing full time? Were you reaching out to your contacts? Was it word of mouth?
It was a little bit of both. Luckily, a lot of my clients, just from the connections I made within the fashion industry, I would see them at events, or we would go to brunch, and it would come up in conversation.
Right.
But honestly, social media has been such a big component of where I am today.
Really? How did you use social media to really promote yourself?
Just if I'm practicing at home, just posting videos of that, dropping mixes, having photo shoots, which sounds so cliche, but it's just...
You gotta have content.
Yeah, content is king, and it's one of those things where a lot of people are I think older DJs, they don't understand what it takes or what goes into branding as a DJ today.
It's very different.
Especially in New York City.
Yeah.
It's these clients want you to have, and it's sad, but it's reality. They want you to have a certain number of followers. They want you to have a specific look.
Yep.
It's all the things that they ask for before they even actually kind of hear you DJ.
Yeah.
And I'm well, do you want to know what my mixes sound like?
Well, it's almost now DJs are influencers.
They are.
And so it's literally like they're looking at you as an influencer first, and then they're like, okay, well, I'm sure you can play music.
Yeah.
Like, do you fit that, like, especially when you're dealing with the media, the fashion, like those clients?
And that's the mindset you have to have, especially when you're working in this like realm of DJing when it comes like, you know, fashion and entertainment.
Right.
You know, like there's DJs that just do like clubs and like bars where like they don't have to worry about that. But when you're consumer facing, like it makes sense.
It's very different. So did the blogging that you did prior to Macy's, like when you were still in college, did that help you?
Absolutely.
With where you're at now?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, my major of marketing and then like my love for like just creative things, the blog aspect made sense. And then that component just helped me as a DJ because it's just like, okay, people want to see what's going on in like your life. Yeah. So it's a way to like show who you are and what you're about, but just remain authentic in it. And I think like that's the key to like just success today. Yeah. Is just being authentic. Because there's so many people out there on Instagram that kind of like paint this whole facade of who they are, and that comes to light eventually.
Yeah, we all see through it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like, you know, you have to create a moment, create a memory, but just also be authentic and create in that moment.
Yeah. So. Especially with like DJing, you are out at all hours. You are, you know, your gigs could probably be from a breakfast to a party that goes till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So how has that changed your approach to actually going out? Has it at all? Because like your job is to be at some of these parties. Right. So like, do you still go to parties for pleasure? Is it more like...
It's so crazy because last night I had a birthday dinner. I was actually off last night. Yeah. Which is rare on a Saturday for me. And I went to go see my 2 other friends DJ. Okay. And it was just so weird just like not being in the DJ booth because... Being
at a party, not that...
Yeah. But it's so important because like when you just go to your events, you get so caught up in like in your head and like you only kind of like play from your perspective. So it's good to see like, you know, what other fellow DJs are doing. And it's also a community. Like, you know, you have to support each other. Exactly. And it's really important for me to also like continue to go out when I'm not working because like I can meet someone who becomes my next client. Exactly. So it takes a lot of willpower and a lot of like, you know, talking to myself in the mirror, like, get up, you're going. Yes, you But at the end, it's all worth it.
Yeah, there's a good reason for it. Yeah. And like, was there any like, not really prep work, but education that like once you were fully committing yourself to DJing, did you do any more studying on the craft, or like how did you really like make sure that you were an expert in your space? Every single day, like, and I still have so much to learn. So just like, I think like one, just getting more familiar with the DJ scene and DJ culture in New York City, you become more respected. Yeah. So therefore, like you create like a DJ family. Right. And a lot of my friends that like I hang out with on the daily are also DJs. So like, you know, we teach each other things. Right. You know, we share contacts and like put each other on. But honestly, when I'm at home, like I'm always watching like, you know, documentaries or like YouTube videos or practicing things that people don't always see, but it's so important in order to like continue to elevate my brand and my craft as a DJ. Yeah, because absolutely. It's one of those things where it's like there's always something new to learn. Yeah. You know, you can always get better. So there was a moment where I was getting so busy where I was like just being super booked that I didn't really have time to practice. Yeah. And I told my manager, I was like, I had to lay low a little bit on some of these bookings because like I have to put time in my craft. Yes, yeah. And I have to take at least like, you know, 2 hours a day to really like practice and make sure I'm like honing in on my skills. Yeah, you needed your downtime, definitely. Exactly. And so you right now have representation. Yes. And so how did you go about finding that? Like what's that like being represented? Because you weren't always under. No. Okay. I was not. And a lot of people always ask me like, I want a manager. How can I get a manager? And honestly, like, it's going to come to you. Yeah. Okay. And I think that like, you know, when people started getting more familiar with me as a DJ, a lot of people started reaching out about representing me. But a lot of people that really didn't have the skill of representing people. You were kind of going to be their guinea pig. Yeah. Okay. And I'm like, this is my career and I don't have time to be your guinea pig. This is not a test lab. Okay? Not at all. We can grow together, but I need you to know what you're doing. Yes. So honestly, my manager now, Ernest James of New Orleans Management, he also represents Kayla Walker. I know, yep, exactly. Yes. So she actually put me in contact with him. Okay. Kayla and I we're doing a few events together and, you know, just building our relationship as as friends. Yeah. And she's like, you know, I want you to meet my manager. I think you all can like really grow and connect. So EJ and I met
And we honestly like didn't start working together right away.
Okay.
It was just kind of like learning each other and kind of like seeing where his head was and where my head was.
Right.
And then I think like maybe 8 months to like 10 months later, we kind of like sat down and we're like, okay, like let's build something.
Okay.
And ever since then, it's been amazing.
And are you one of his first DJ clients? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But
so
like,
he represents like media correspondents.
Yes.
I'm like the only DJ on the roster. He has like a dancer and some other like influencers of color.
Amazing. And so word of mouth was like the best way for you because...
Yeah. I mean, like I used to put it out there, like tweet about it, like, you know, looking for representation. But like the people that were coming back to me just didn't feel like a good fit.
Right.
And my thing is like, if you're managing or helping manage my career, if you're seeing all the money that's coming in, I need to trust you. We need to like align on visions.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I did it by myself by creating like, this is a hack.
Okay.
But a lot of times when talent is booking certain gigs or whatever, if you're booking it as a talent, like say for instance, like I'm the DJ and like they're talking directly to me.
Right.
A lot of times they're not going to give you your full rate or because
Right.
they just feel like whatever.
They lowball you at first.
Exactly.
Right. I have
and you
to
don't,
do that. But
right. And you don't want to be like the bad. You don't want to come off as like being the bad guy because like you don't want to lose the job.
Right.
Exactly. So therefore, you put someone in place to do that.
Yes.
And for a while, for like 3 months, I had an email address that I created.
Yes.
And I was pretty much acting as my own manager.
I love that.
And it was one of those things where like it made so much more sense because I'm like, wow, I just got like $3,000 more
because someone else was doing
it. Exactly.
It was you though.
And it was no back and forth. It was just like, okay, cool. What else does he need?
Very smart.
So, you know, I tell people all the time, like, you kind of like, you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
But also like, you know, just make sure if you do sign with management that you all are aligned on goals, growth and everything.
Right. And so what is that negotiation process like? Because obviously like, I mean, I know from working in events and hiring many DJs, you lowball at first, and you know that. Yeah. And so how do you deal with that negotiation process? Are there any times that you are like, this is a great rate, I'm going to accept it, or do you always negotiate?
You know, it's one of those things. Me and Ernest, we always have this thing, and we say, is it brand building? Is it bank building? Okay. And sometimes you have to meet in the middle. Okay. You know, especially when you're kind of like, when I first started getting bigger clients, like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I wasn't really established as like the go-to, like, you know, DJ in fashion or whatever. Yeah. So I had to like prove myself. Right. So therefore, I'm not going to ask for like a super high rate. Yeah. Honestly, my rate in my negotiation didn't really like change until one day this client made a mistake and sent me the tech writer and the contract for another DJ that was on the same bill as me. So I saw what she was getting versus what I was asking for, and that's when the light went off. I was like, wow, we're on the same bill together. So apparently, obviously this client thinks that we're both like, you know, at the same caliber. Yep. So why am I not asking for this amount? Yeah. And that is when I'm like, you know what? You have to know your worth and sometimes go above what you think you're going to get because more than 9 times out of 10 they're going to negotiate, and like even if you negotiate down, if you always go above, you'll end up getting closer to what you originally wanted. With. Exactly.
Right. No, I think Bozoma St. John said this amazing comment about like always aim high. Like think of the biggest number that you can and give that to them. All they can say is no and give you a smaller number, and then you meet in the middle, and sometimes you end up with more than you originally were. But like you really do, but you have to bet on yourself though. That's the thing. You have to be really, really comfortable betting on yourself because you're like, I am worth this number that I'm asking for.
And that's the key. I think you have to know be honest with yourself and your talent or where you are. Yeah. You know, because, you know, 2 years ago, I would not be asking for the rate that I ask for now because like I just wasn't as good. You know, you know, and as you get better and the more you do, the higher the rate goes up. Exactly. So that's why it's like I'm always so motivated to like, you know, get bigger clients and do more because like eventually like that translates to more dollars. Yes. So, but it's a process and like you have to be patient with it.
You do. So I've always wanted to ask a DJ this because in this age of like social media DJs where like everyone and their mom is on Instagram and is a DJ because they
think it's cute.
Apparently can make a playlist.
Right.
So How do you, first of all, how does that make you feel? And then how do you set yourself apart? Because this is your career and something that you are taking seriously, and not something that, like, because you have a cool pair of headphones, you can put them on. I can DJ your party because I have a computer and headphones.
My perspective now versus back when I worked in fashion about DJs is it's totally different. Yeah. Because when I was in fashion, I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense. Like, they're cute, like they can dress, you know, like the music is whatever, it's okay. Right. But now that I am a DJ and like I'm listening to transitions, I'm listening to song selection, like I'm listening to like what makes a great DJ a great DJ. And I see some of the rooms that these other like quote unquote like models and influencers are in because of their following. Yeah. It does kind of rub me the wrong way a bit, but I understand like that's just how society is right now. Yeah. Especially with social media. Yeah. And I just, you know, I use that as motivation to just continue to get like better as a DJ myself, because I can give you a look, I can give you all of that, but I'm also going to give you a set that you're going to like dance your ass off to.
The music that you're never going to forget.
Exactly.
You're going to leave the party be like, that music was so good.
Exactly. So like, I mean, it's just, and some DJs don't want to grow. They don't like, they're okay with just being like the cute DJ that's getting like the free clothing product. Right. Don't get me wrong, like I love the free clothing product. Like it's part of the job, but at the same time, like my goal every day is to like become a better DJ, to become better at my craft and my song selection, to learn more music, to travel the world and be experienced to more sounds. Like that's just my goal personally. Right. So it's just different based on what you want out of life, I guess.
Would you have done anything differently in your career path had you known that you're going to be where you are today?
Oh my gosh. I think about that often. But you know what? Now that I am where I am and like I'm thinking about my future, I don't think so. I'm glad that I went to college. Yeah. You know, I'm glad that like I worked in corporate for as long as I did, because there were so many relationships and just, you know, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Like just how to navigate through life. Right. You know, like my negotiation skills are better because I used to have to negotiate with factories in China. You know, like it's just like, I can, every day when I like do my DJ work, I can always relate that back to something I did in corporate America or something that I learned in college. And I'm like, I'm glad that I had these skills. Right. You know?
And I'm sure, and this is one thing that I was thinking about, I'm sure you knowing how to work and talk with the corporate, you know, especially that like big retailer corporate America, also made your negotiating and like working with those type of companies so easy.
And it's one of those things where like, and I pride myself on this, like all my clients always say like, myself and my team, we're so professional. Yes. And to the T. Because like I'm like kind of OCD. Because I remember just like, you know, working with other brands and designers, like, you know, trying to bring them into Macy's, and just how like sometimes it can just be like disorganized and just a turn off. Yeah. So I just make it a point to just really be professional, and it definitely sets you apart.
It definitely does.
For sure. I mean, you know, like am I going to be DJing for the rest of my life? No. No. Do I want to DJ for the rest of my life? No. I'm always going to have like those moments where like, okay, if I'm 60, let's have a party, whatever. But there are things that I'm working on that DJing is going to like grow and evolve into that I'm really excited about. Absolutely. But right now, like I'm happy.
So what is next for you?
Whew. So next for me.
That you can share. Okay. You're comfortable sharing.
So this year, my main focus is DJing. Okay. But it's more travel. Okay. And more international travel. Love that. I've been doing like a lot of things in New York, a lot of things in like DC, Atlanta, but you know, I want to see what the West Coast is like. Yeah. Because I don't know, like I'm itching for like a different feel of things. Yeah, and but it's only if it feels right. Right. You know, so LA. I'm planning a trip to go to London, Amsterdam soon. They have really big like DJ cultures and scenes out there.
Especially in Amsterdam.
Yes, right? It's amazing. Yeah. So I'm curious to just see how that is and what it feels like. And then just continue to work on like my agency that I want eventually, which is like going to be a creative agency where, you know, if you want the best of the best, like photographers, DJs, like event producers, like I would represent them, and it'd be like an all in-house moment.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's something I've been working on for a while now, and it's going to be some bricks that I've laid this year. So I'm excited about that.
That help you build that house. Yeah. So I like to wrap up every show with a shot. Okay. So something small, something strong and powerful that you want to pass on. And this can be in general or for DJ specifically. Okay. What shot do you want to give?
I'm going to be general because I feel like it relates to everyone and whatever you do. Yeah. Is to be authentic And not only be authentic, but to understand that your story, your journey, your race is your own. Be inspired by that of others, but do not use others as like the blueprint to determine where you are and what you're worth. Because, you know, someone else's point Z can be your point A, and you can just be, you know, you never know what happens.
Right.
And I think that so many people today, you know, I talk to a lot of like younger people I mentor at the Excellent Boys Charter School in Brooklyn, and just a lot of them are like so caught up on what they see on television and social media, which I get, like that's a huge thing now.
That's all we see.
Right. And I'm just like, you know, like be inspired by that, but understand that like you have the power to be even better than the things that you're inspired by. So never lose sight of like what you want to do, and like be patient. Take your time. Comparing
yourself will set you further back than
it will.
You won't get anywhere.
It will. And like, you know, I'd rather be, you know, I'm all about longevity. I don't want to become an overnight sensation and then I have like a burnout after a few years.
Like it takes time. And it should take time.
It should. And like you have to like everything that you do, like look back on it and say, wow, I did that. Congratulate yourself. Like learn from that and just continue to build from it. So
I'm all about celebrating small wins now. So everything that you do, you celebrate that.
Yes. And sometimes we get so caught up on the next thing. So we forget about the things that we've already accomplished. But it's so important for us to like acknowledge the small, the big, the medium size, and just continue to just like live life and just become a better person.
So true. So where can everyone find you? If they want to book you, if they just want to reach out to you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So you can find me, you can check out my website, that is www.kennethkyrell.com. On Instagram, it's Kenneth Kyrell. SoundCloud, across the board, everything is Kenneth Kyrell.
Amazing.
So everything from booking me to hearing my mixes to seeing what I'm wearing. Kenneth Kyrell, you'll find me.
Amazing. Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you. Cheers.
For your next party.
Turn up.
Exactly. You know where to find him.
Exactly.